Okay, so we are doing Rambam Bekius in the sense of Rambam's Perush on Torah, which there's no such thing, but you could get it through Avraham ben Rambam, right? Because he always quotes his father. So I had mentioned yesterday that it was weird that so much of the, arguably, one of the central mitzvahs of Pesach is Milah, because you can't do.
Sorry about that.
You can't eat the Korban Pesach if you're uncircumcised, and Klal Yisrael needs to get circumcised, and Korban Pesach and Milah are the only two mitzvahs to say that you're chayav kares for intentionally not doing, and yet, according to pshat, it seems like Moshe Rabbeinu almost got killed because he didn't do Milah on his son. And so I mentioned that's, I don't know, it's just weird that like it's weird in general, the story, which we'll see in a second, but it's also weird that like Milah first comes up in Sefer Shemos in regards to Moshe not doing it, you know, and then we get into the whole stuff with Korban Pesach. So I wanted to like examine this, and I haven't actually learned this in depth, and I regret not having my, I don't have my good Avraham ben Rambam with me, so we're gonna have to do this without footnotes and rely on whatever we have here. So let's just explore the story. It's a very short story. Okay, so the context is like this. This is in Shemos Perek Daled, and so there's the whole three chapters of Moshe Rabbeinu at the burning bush. And you know, Moshe goes, you know, is assigned the mission, and he protests, and then God says no, you know, and he says, okay, fine, blah blah blah, and then that ends. Okay, so then it says like this. So I'm just going to rev into the story, even though this part's not the story yet. But Yelech Moshe v'yashav ela Yeser chosno. So Moshe goes back and to Yeser, his father-in-law, otherwise known as Yesro. This is Shemos Daled Yudches. V'yomer lo, and he said to him, I'm going to go back and return to my brethren in Mitzrayim, and see if they're still alive. That's also weird, right? I mean, obviously they're still alive because God sent him to Mitzrayim to take out the Jews. And you could say, well, maybe he's just telling Yisro that, but like, I don't know why he would have to tell this to Yisro. That's a whole separate question, I guess.
It'd also be weird for something to happen to all of them. Like, yeah,
right. All of them died. Like, yeah. I mean, and he can't be talking about his literal brothers because that's only our own, you know. So, okay. V'yomer Yisro leMoshe leich l'shalom. So Yisro says to Moshe, go in peace. V'yomer Hashem el Moshe b'Midyan, and Hashem said to Moshe in Midyan. It's a strange pasuk just to see that phrase, right? Leich shuv Mitzrayim, go and return to Mitzrayim. Okay, which is also strange because like it sounds like Moshe decided to go back and then Hashem told him, Ki mesu kol hanashim hamavakshim nafshecha, all the men who were seeking your life have died, right? In other words, all the people who were going to go after Moshe. Vayikach Moshe es ishtov es banav. Moshe took his wife and his sons, vayarkivim al hachamor, and put them on the donkey. Vayashav Arta Mitzrayim. Okay, this is another weird thing. There's a sub donkey theme in Yetzias Mitzrayim. Okay, that we kind of encountered in another shiur that I did. I forgot what shiur it was. So I'm just noticing here that's another theme, because the Jews took out the donkeys with them when they loaded up the donkeys with the wealth of Mitzrayim and took them out, and that's why there's a connection of Pidyon Chamor. That's a reward. Oh, I know, it was in Tehillim shiur, right? When we were doing the Radox, seeming to say, Radox explaining Chazal, seeming to say that there's hard owners for animals, and like he explains what that really means. And the two examples he gives are God rewarded the dogs for not barking at the Jews when they went out of Mitzrayim. He rewarded them by saying that we give nevela to them, and then the donkeys that helped the Jews take the wealth out of Mitzrayim. Then he says. And maybe this also, I'm not sure. Then we have the institution of Pidyon Chamor. Okay, that's also not our topic. Fine. So he loaded them up on the donkey and took them towards Mitzrayim. V'yikach Moshe es mateh ha'elokim biado, and Moshe took the staff of God in his hand. V'yomer Hashem el Moshe, and Hashem said to Moshe, "B'lechtecha l'shuv Mitzrayim, when you go back to Mitzrayim, re'ei kol hamosim asher samti v'yadecha, see all of the wonders, that the miracles that I place in your hand, and do them before Paro, and I will strengthen Paro's heart, and he will not send out the people. The Amarta el Paro, and you shall say to Paro, Hashem, thus says Hashem, B'ni b'chor Yisrael, my son, my firstborn is Israel. The Omar Elech, and say to him, he will say to you, sorry, Va'omar elecha. I always forget how to translate this in the dialogue. There's a lot of quotes and quotes. And Va'omar elecha. Oh, he will say to you, no. Shalach es b'ni v'avdeni. Should be you shall say to him, right? I'm missing something. And I have said to you, va'omar elecha, and I have said to you, Shalach es b'ni, send out my son, meaning Israel, v'avdeni, and he will serve me. V'tamayin l'shalcho, and you will refuse to send him out. If you refuse to send him out, I will kill your son, your firstborn. Okay, now so that's the whole context. Now here's the actual story. Okay, it was on the way in the malon. Okay, malon presumably is an inn, right? Let's see Targum here. Or beves mavasa, right? Like I think that's like an inn. Place of lodging. Okay. Hashem encountered him. That's what it means. Hashem encountered him. Vayivakesh hamiso, and sought to kill him. Okay, so already there's an ambiguity here, which is, I don't know. Maybe there's not an ambiguity. All right, well, let's read the story. Short enough. Vatikach Tziporah tzor, and Tziporah took a rock, or a rock. What
does that mean? The base mabasa, like literally
in a place of like, I think mabasa is like yeshiva, maybe like a place of dwelling.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So funny word for okay.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. By the way, check this out also. So Onklos translates it as an angel of God encountered him and wanted to kill him, whereas the pasuk makes it sound like God himself encountered him. I guess that's also strange. So, but Tikach Tzipor tzor. So Tzipor took I think tzor is a rock. Let me just click on it here. Tzipor took a knife. Sorry, a tzor. Why is that? Oh, knives of flint maybe is why I'm thinking it's rock. And Onklos says a tinara. Let's just see what a tinara is.
And it sharpens its sword.
Yeah, use it.
And also I think it's for Israel.
That's probably one thing also. Yeah, that's a good point. Tinara.
It means sword?
No, a knife.
Knife.
Yeah, sword would be an awesome way to do milah.
It's kind of interesting how close the words are, though.
For what and what?
Sword.
Sword and sewer. Sword and knife. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's good.
Let's see here. Tinara is rock or flint. Okay, fine. Yeah, so she took a rock. Vatichros es orlas bana, and she cut the foreskin of her son. Vataga laraglav, and it touched his feet. Okay, Vataga, I think plain pshat is it touched his feet. Let me just see how they say it here. Like Negia, yeah, touched, struck, or reached his feet. Vatomer, and she said, Ki chasan damim atali, you are a bridegroom of bloods to me. Okay, Vayiref mimenu. Okay, Vayiref is sink, relax, abate, withdraw. Okay, and he, what is this? Here, so he let him alone is how the English translates it here. But Yirf Mimenu, we'll see the Onklos in a second. Az Amra, then she said, Chasan Damim Lamulos, a bridegroom of bloods for circumcisions. It's just like a weird story, right? Like what's going on? All right. Let's look at the Onklos again. So she took a flint and she cut the foreskin of her son. And she brought it in front of him. Amaras, and she said, Bidama di mahulta hadain isyehev chasna lana. So that's a definitely a different translation. With this blood of Milah, isyehev chasana lana, the bridegroom has been given to us. Is that what it says? On account of the blood of the circumcision, let my husband be given back to me. Okay, so I guess she's talking to the angel. Vanach mine and when he had desisted from him, when the angel desisted from Moshe, I guess, then she said, Ilule dema di mehulta hadain, were it not for the blood of this Milah, ischayev chasana katol. My husband would have been condemned to die. Really bizarre story. Yeah. So I guess what are the questions here? Other than what's going on?
But
That was
Yeah,
going to
Joseph?
be my question.
wait, okay. Wait, who's she talking to?
Yeah, that's the thing, that's the ambiguity I was alluding to before, is that the pasuk says it's Hashem encountered, right? So one possibility, she's talking to Hashem. Targum says that it's a malachat at Hashem, so it's an angel, and she's talking to that. Moshe is there, right? So and she does seem to be talking to Moshe. Chasan damim atali, but then here Chasan damim lamulos is like in the third person. It's just strange, you know. So who's she talking to? And then there's also ambiguity in the pronouns with the his, right? So Bataga laraglav, it reached his feet. So is that like Moshe's feet? Is it Moshe's son's feet? Because the last subject in the pasuk other than Tziporah is Banah, right? She cut off the foreskin of her son and it reached his feet. Also, what does that mean? Like, who cares, you know?
Does she have to be talking to anybody? Can she just be like, you know?
Well, she has to be talking to someone. She has to be talking to Moshe here, right? Seemingly. So that sets the precedent for a dialogue, because she says, you are a husband of blood. The second statement, she doesn't have to be talking to anyone, I guess. Yeah, Yosef?
I guess could be Hashem / the angel's feet.
It's possible. I mean, that'd be weird, you know. But I guess theoretically,
as an appeasement, as a way to like, we're not, you know.
Yeah,
to like
you definitely get that vibe from the Targum, right? Like you know, he desists from her, and you know, the angel. It sounds very strange.
What was actually happening to Moshe? So
Yeah, that's the other
yeah.
thing also, right? Oh yeah, so the question we asked from before was, so the previous question from yesterday was, why did Moshe not do Milah? What was his havamina that you shouldn't do Milah or whatever? And then what was Moshe in danger of? I mean, first of all, not doing Milah is not chayav misa, right? I mean, even if you don't do Milah for yourself, you're chayav kares, but you're not chayav misa, and certainly on your son, you're not chayav misa. Certainly not misa b'dei shamayim, you know, which seems to be what this is.
And also,
Yeah.
why wasn't he the one to now do it?
That's also true, right? Exactly. If this angel or Hashem is like discernible to anybody, and we know that it's for Milah, then you would think Moshe would leap into action and do this, you know, himself. So why is she doing it?
Yeah, if this is some sort of onus because he didn't do it, he still didn't do it. And
Exactly,
now he can
right.
do it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Yosef?
Is the Milah by 8 days? Is that told to Avraham or is that later?
Yeah, that's told to Avraham. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of Avraham, I just wanted to quickly look at the Lashon by Avraham, because I don't know if this is a. Do we use the Lashon of kares for doing the actual procedure of Milah? Because here it says vatichros es orlas bana. She karesed her son's Milah. But do we say that by Avraham? Let's see. So the psukim in Bereshis Yud Zayin Yud. Zos brisi asher tishmeru beini uvenechem uven zarcha achracha himolachem kol zachar. So this is my covenant that you shall keep between me and you, and between your offspring after you. Circumcise every male. Circumcise the foreskin of your the flesh of your foreskin. Os bris beini uvenechem, and it will be a sign of the covenant between me and you. Uben shmonos yamim yimolachem kol zachar ledorosechem. And a son of 8 days, you shall circumcise each male for your generations. You lead by miknas kesef mikol ben nechar asher lo mizarachahu. In all those who are born in your house or acquired by money, from all of the non-Jews, who are not of your offspring, who, meaning you have to circumcise your servants also. Himol yimol yilid beischa minas kaspecha v'haisa brisi b'visharchem libris olam v'arol zachar shalo yimol es b'sar olaso v'dinkrasa hanev shahim yameha es brisi hefar. Yeah, so it's interesting. It uses the verb milah for the procedure. Here it does say vatichros es orlas b'na. I don't know if there's a separate connotation there, or she cut off. And here also Unclose says gazaras. Yeah.
It seems like because of the circumstances and the way the word sounds, even like phonetically, the chorus is like a rough kind of sounding word. Yeah, and maybe that's why they don't use milah. Milah is something that you do more with time to prepare intentionally, right? Like when it's supposed to be done. And now it's like there's this. It's almost kind of like how we have like a different word, like for a ger, for example, if they already have like a medical circumcision. Like there you call it a hadafa. It's not exactly the same, right? But like being, technically she's doing the idea of she's getting the milah done, but to emphasize that it's a different, in a different moment, whatever, different time. Now it's right.
I definitely hear that. The cutting off of the foreskin sounds different than a verb that specifically means a procedure, Right. Yeah. By the way, just word wise, the term for when someone already has a circumcision, or if they don't have a foreskin, is hatafas dan bris, and it's from the word tipa, which means drop. Is you're taking drops of blood. So there it comes from the word like, in other words, this I agree with you that this is referring to the same action, but could be a rougher form. There, it's like taking blood droplets is literally the word hatafas. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at Avraham ben Rambam and see what he says in the name of his father and see where this leads us. Okay, Avraham ben Rambam. Vayhi b'derech b'malon das Adonenu zal. Now, I don't know who this Adonenu is because he usually refers to his father as Abba Mari or Abba Avi. So I don't know if this is just a reference to the Rambam or not. I'm not sure. So the Vayif Geshehu. El Eliezer. Okay, so it was on the derech that he encountered him. So he's saying that encountered him. The him is Eliezer. So Eliezer had obviously just recently been born, and the malach is targeting him. So not Moshe. Okay. So v'da'ato b'kitzur, and his opinion concisely, I guess the opinion of whoever this Adonenu is shekasher yatzat Tziporah. You know what? Actually, I have one other version of Avraham. Let me just see something here. I assume this is the same one that's on the Ala Torah. This is the original Avraham and Rambam published version. I just want to see if they say who Adonenu is. Dalid, Chaf Dalid. No, same thing. Okay, yeah. So he says like this: Shekasher yatsa Tziporah im shnei yeladeha. When Tziporah went out with her two children, b'chaburas ha'adon hashliach, in the company of the Lord, the messenger, Alav Hashem, that's Moshe. Moshe kadei linsoa imo leMitzrayim, in order to travel with him to Mitzrayim, o lebirkas hapreda, or for a blessing of departure. So it sounds like he's in doubt about whether Tziporah was actually going to go back to Mitzrayim with Moshe, or if she was just like escorting him out to bless him. Didn't it say that she was going to Mitzrayim with Moshe?
Yeah, but doesn't that still leave the same question? Is she going like along the way to like drop him off, or is she going to be there with him?
Right. Yeah, I just want to see if there's an indication. Vayikach Moshe es ishto v'espanav vayar kivim al hamor vayashav arta Mitzrayim. I mean, that pasuk makes it sound like he loaded all of them up on the donkey and they went to Mitzrayim. Right. Unless vayashav is just by Moshe, and then like Chizkiah was saying that she just went along to the borders of Midian, I guess maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, so let's see what happened. Chazra mitocha derech. She went back from the journey, the Fimasha Amru, according to what they said, Shuhu Alav Shalom Chazar Midato Bazeh, that he, of blessed memory, went back of his own decision in this. I don't know what's going on. Is that a midrash anyone's familiar with, that Moshe turned back? Anyone ever heard that before? That's what it sounds like it's saying, right? That Fimash Amru, according to that which they said. See, this is where we need my good edition of Rambam and Rambam, because it would cite where this source is. I just want to see if there's like, just give me 1 second. Let's look at Rashi on this. I want to see if it says anything about Moshe going back. Oh, I also don't know if it means going back to Mitzrayim or going back to Midian. So I thought it was going back to Midian. Let's look at the Midrash Rabbah. That's weird. You'll find that it was a malach of Rachamim and nevertheless wanted to kill him. What about Tanchuma? Okay, you know what? Maybe we're not gonna. Yeah.
Is that supposed to mean that it was supposed to be considered like a Rachmanis to kill?
That's what it sounds like, right? I'm not sure.
But
right,
then
let's
but then to say nevertheless doesn't mean it seems
right.
not.
That's right. Yeah, it seems like that's contrary to its nature. All right, let's see if we can piece this together here. I'm having a hard time with the pronouns. So they said, presumably the Ve'es Chazal, that he, Moshe, Chazer Midato Bazeh, intentionally changed his mind on this. Now I don't know if that means change his mind on like to go back on the derech, or change his mind on Milah. Upaga behem, and this angel encountered them, or God encountered them. He didn't say it's an angel. Yom Shmini, on the 8th day, b'toch haderech, b'chazaras l'Midian. Okay, fine. On the path back to Midian. Sounds like they're going back to Midian, and the angel like stopped him. Now here's where the pronouns get difficult. V'hisrashla min hamila. Now hisrashla min hamila means that she became lax in Milah. Bishgia, either unintentionally, or shechashva, or she thought shemuter la'akiv, that it is permissible to delay Milah mipnei shahaya b'derech, because they were traveling. Ukeshahaya b'malon, and when he was in the inn, when Eliezer was in the inn, shahaisa rotza lalunbo, that she wanted to sleep in, lifnei sof yom hashmini, at the end of the 8th day, kara milafanav yis'aleh bin mikrish sakana leEliezer. Then God caused an incident of danger to happen to Eliezer, shekimeat haragoso, that God almost killed him. See, so here's what I'm sounding like. It sounds like this. It sounds like Tziporah went with Moshe and the kids to Midian, and then it sounds like either Moshe sent her back or she went back of her own accord. So Moshe's going off to Mitzrayim, and then she's on her way back to Midian. And she thinks that she doesn't have to do Milah, which explains why Moshe wasn't doing it. She sleeps in an inn, and then God causes this Eliezer to be in danger, and what happens? And that was at the end of the 8th day, meaning when she was when there was a chiyuv to do Milah on Eliezer, and then and Eliezer almost dies. Then it says v'hevina Tziporah b'hashpa elokis, and Tziporah understood through a divine overflow, which is some sort of nevuah or ruach kodesh, shezo haisa onesh milafanav yis'aleh abur hamilah, that this was some sort of punishment from God about the Milah. Umiha rabba Milah, and she quickly did Milah, la'amod neged oso hamikra, to oppose that chance occurrence. This is a funny thing. Like someone quickly rushes with chicken soup to give someone who's sick. Oh, shar mashke, or some sort of other beverage. Yeah, Yosef?
Does it have to be that they're, I guess, Moshe or Tziporah were even sinning or wrong? They're like, could be they're right just because you see Mitzrayim, somehow they need Milah.
I mean, Moshe was chayav in Milah because because he was Zera Avraham, and Milah was chayav on the 8th day, and this was the 8th day. And I don't know what the halachic system of Milah was before Matan Torah, but the way the Rambam talks about it is it was the same halachos. So the halacha is that if the father can't do it, then Beis Din does it. But if there's no Beis Din, then the mother has to do it, right? So like I presumably she was chayav to do Milah on her son, and and she was doing it because of the mitzvah, not because of some other Mitzrayim thing, I think.
Why did you say that her having her reason for not doing it explains Moshe not doing it?
So the way I'm getting it here is I'm getting the vibe from the words that she was not with Moshe, was not with her, right?
Oh, he had left her in charge.
He had left. Yeah. So in other words, let me just go back and reread that part. So it says, "Shekasher yatsa Tziporah im shnei yeledeha b'chavurah ha'adam hashleich alav shalom k'dei linsoa imo l'mitzrayim ola birkas ha'preda." So she initially departed with Moshe and her two kids, either to go back to Mitzrayim or to see him off. Chazra mitoch haderach. She went back on the derech. Lefima she'amru shuhu alav shalom chazar midato bazeh. She went back because of what Chazal said, that he changed his mind. So I'm reading that as Moshe changed his mind about Tziporah accompanying them. So he sent her back. So she's going back to Midian. He's going to Mitzrayim, and upaga behem yom shmini mitoch haderech b'chazar rasa l'Midian. So the angel encountered her on her way back to Midian. So Moshe's nowhere to be seen, and that's why it says that the angel encountered Eliezer, and Avraham and Rambam is learning that the angel means the sakana, means the mikra shel sakana, and we know that angels are used in terms of the Rambam's world. Angels are used for like laws of nature, right, and hashgacha. So like this seems to be some sort of this does seem to be an onesh, but it sounds like an onesh of like Eliezer was subject to sakana because of the neglect of Milah. Okay. So it's funny. So Avraham and Rambam is putting all of this on Tziporah, not on Moshe. Moshe is not even in the picture right now, but which is going to raise the question now. So what about this whole Chassan Damim thing? So let's see how he goes on.
Sounds kind of like how when Abraham gets a chastised for what Sarah is like thinking or whatever.
Yeah. Right. Meaning Moshe has some sort of culpability. That's what it sounds like. Okay. So let's see. Vataga l'raglav choser al Eliezer. That so it reached his feet. That refers to Eliezer. Now I'm still not clear on what the object is that reached his feet. It sounds like it sounds like she cut the foreskin off and then like threw it at his feet. I don't know why that would happen. Let's see. V'yoser karo masha kibalti bo min aba avi. Ooh, we get a quote from Maimon, not Moshe ben Maimon, but from Maimon, right, from his grandfather. Shahis hizasa es dam hamila ad shetinfa es raglav. That I don't know if she sprayed the blood or caused the blood to spray until it dirtied his feet. So really rough job here. Exactly. Lo haisa mitzitza ba'osa hamila. There was no mitzitza during that milah. I know it. What was that?
What's mitzitza?
So mitzitza is that procedure that they used to do by mouth, where they would like
cauterize it?
I don't know what the purpose is. They would suck off the blood and like spit it out did
that?
Yeah, well that's whole controversy nowadays, right? Because there are a bunch of Jews who do this nowadays, and then babies die because it's not sanitary. It's called mitzitza b'peh.
It might be like if the knife is like not necessarily clean or sterile.
Yeah,
it might help like prevent infection. Yeah,
let's just look. Look, it's actually in nyc.gov. But I want to find a let's just look at Wikipedia.
Almost
here.
Like an onomatopoeia, mitzitza.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I assume it might actually be one. That's the mitzitza. Okay, mitzitza is, according to Wikipedia, in mitzitza, the guard is slid over the foreskin as close to the glands as possible to allow for maximum removal of the former without injury to the latter. The scalpel is used to detach the foreskin. The tube is used for mitzitza. In addition to Milah, the initial cut amputating the acropospion and Priya. I don't know anything, by the way, about like the halachos of Milah, like in terms of the anatomy. So I don't know what this stuff is saying here. And subsequent circumcision, as mentioned above. The Talmud mentions a third step, mitzitza, translated as suction, onomatopoeia, as one of the steps involved in circumcision, right? The Talmud writes that a mohel who does not suck creates a danger and should be dismissed from practice. Rashi on that Talmudic passage explains that this step is in order to draw some blood from deep inside the wound to prevent danger to the baby. There are other modern antiseptic and antibiotic techniques, all used as part of Bris Milah today, which many say accomplish the intended purpose of Metzitza. However, since Metzitza is one of the 4 steps to fulfill Milah, the mitzvah, it continues to be practiced by a minority of Orthodox and Hasidic Jews. Yeah,
Does it
fine.
have to do with the mouth though? Can it not be mitzitza, but with some other?
Well, nowadays, yeah, actually, I'm not sure. I mean, it sounds like back then that was the only way to do it. Let's just read this here also, really quickly here. Actually, this is gonna be too much of a tangent here. So let's just go with the Avraham and Rambam. You can look at it in your own time. So basically, she did not do mitzitza in that Milah, o b'kavanasa, either intentionally or because she didn't know any better, So whatever. It was a very bloody Milah, seems to be the message here. Okay, then Vatomer, and she said, Ki chasan damim, you are a husband or a bridegroom of blood. Kamosha biaru hamatargim klomar bedamim ela shehim dmei Milah nitzal li chasan zeh. That with this blood of Milah, my husband was saved. Vakar lo chasan. Oh, okay. This is a creative pshat. She called him chasan. I don't know if it's Yigdal or Yigadal. I don't know. Yigdal v'yisa isha v'yihi chasan. Because he is Yigdal and marries a wife and becomes a chasan. Kmosha amra Chava, like Chava says, Kanisi ish, I have acquired a man. Oh, so in other words, okay, I think what Avraham and Rambam was saying, let's try work this out. I think he's trying to say that Chassan is not Moshe, Chassan is Eliezer. Okay, just like Chava, when she gave birth to Cain, she says Kanisi ish Hashem. I have acquired a man, Shari Yigdal or Yigadel, because he will grow up and become a man. So in other words, I think she's saying, oh no, yeah, that's what he's saying. He's saying she's calling Eliezer Chassan because he's going to grow up and become a Chassan. Okay, it's kind of a stretch for interpretation, but the Kivna Tzipora b'Chassan l'kiyot b'zeh. So in other words, he's going with the Targum saying that with this Milah I saved my Chassan, but Chassan here refers to Eliezer. Okay, so I mean he's making this. I remember I was taking Moshe completely out of the picture here and making this all about her intervening to save Eliezer's life because he was in Sakana because of the failure to do Milah, and she knew this because of Ruach HaKodesh, because this was she knew that it was an owner from Ruach HaKodesh. Yeah.
So it's no longer Moshe's life that's in danger?
Yeah, it's not Moshe's life. Yeah, our Rambam seems to be learning it as it's all about Eliezer. And let's just do this last one.
Why does he relate it to? Does he need to say that it's like with Chava and saying Kanisi Ish just to make the point that
so because the problem is Chassan is either going to refer to Moshe or to Chassan in biblical Hebrew means father-in-law, right? I don't know why. Let me see here.
Oh my gosh, I didn't want to mention this before.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. I don't know if it's so much, but I'm pretty sure there's some medrash or something I've heard. Maybe it might be more of a Kabbalistic thing, honestly. But I've heard that Yitro is supposed to be like the Gilgal of Cain, and Moshe is the Gilgal of Havel, and that's why Yitro returns when he gives Tziporah to Moshe. It was fixing when Cain took the wife of Havel, and so now this story bringing this up is kind of even bringing that up more if we're bringing up the father-in-law relating to Cain.
Yeah, interesting. So looks like the All Torah dictionary says it means either it means a son-in-law, right, daughter's husband, or a bridegroom, and then it says as one who undergoes circumcision. That's interesting. I mean, that's definitely could be how it's used here. Yeah, Yosef.
Just noticing that the previous two Pesukim, it talks about how Bnei Yisrael is Hashem's Bechor, and that with Hashem telling Paro to kill the firstborn. So that is that mean a familiar relationship between Moshe and Hashem?
That's really interesting. Also, I was wondering that as well. That the what's the relationship in the context that first of all, this is a general question, by the way, even outside of the story. But that little speech that Hashem gives Moshe of that this is what the dialogue is going to be with Paro. It's weird that that's after the burning bush thing, So it's almost like that thing is juxtaposed to this Milah incident. Yeah. Okay, let's just finish this up and then try to figure out the ideas. V'chasan damin lamulos, gam kain biru hamatargim v'tamu chasan ze natal lamus b'hashpech damo. This chasan, meaning Eliezer, was almost going to die with the spilling of blood, as a warning from God to fulfill the mitzvah of Milah. Yeah. Okay, so the question is, now that we know the pshat according to him, and I just want to do one thing. I just want to use the all Torah feature and see if they have a parsha unit on this, and see if they summarize it just to make sure that we're not missing anything. Tziporah and Midian. Oh yeah, check this out.
Mystery at the Malone.
Oh, was that?
This one.
Oh, okay. Mystery at the Malone. Oh, that's interesting. That's funny. Okay. Oops. Yeah. Oh, let's see this. Okay. The episode described in Shemos 4:24-26 is one of the most enigmatic stories in Torah. I wouldn't go that far. Okay, but it is pretty enigmatic. As Moshe travels from Midian to Egypt. Okay, so summarizing this. Okay, filled with ambiguous pronouns, difficult phrases, and an unknown backdrop. I should have done this before today, but whatever. These verses hide more than they reveal, raising a host of questions. Who is in danger of being killed, Moshe or one of his sons? And if a son, which one? I mean, plain pshat is it's Eliezer, because Moshe has Gershom much earlier. I mean, according to Sforno, we read, and maybe not everyone holds this, Sforno is like 60 years older than Eliezer, which is also interesting. Okay, fine. Is Gershom or Eliezer the son who is circumcised? Why had he not been circumcised until now? Why is it Tziporah rather than Moshe who performs the circumcision? How does she know how to do it? Why is circumcision the solution to the problem? What do the phrases Ki chasan damim atali, chasan damim lamulos mean? To whom is Tziporah referring, and what does she intend by her words? Finally, the most troubling question of all, why would Hashem want to kill anyone, let alone his trusted servant Moshe, whom he has just entrusted with the most important mission in the history of mankind? Okay, fine. Oh, and then he points out what Yosef said. The immediate context of our story raises additional difficulties. Shemos 4:18-20 introduces Moshe's journey back to Egypt, and our episode would seem to be the logical continuation of these verses. Yet the intervening verses of 4:21-23 appear to suddenly switch gears, recounting how Hashem told Moshe of Paro's looming obstinacy and commanded him to relay a warning to Paro about the plague of the firstborn. The placement of this prophecy is puzzling, as Hashem has previously given Moshe much of this information, and the warning seems somewhat premature, as Paro has not yet been approached. These difficulties make one wonder whether the prophecy has some sort of other meaning or purpose, and to what extent it is connected to the mysterious events at the end. So that's our question. So let's see if they summarize R Avraham and Rambam's approach. I don't want to do all the mafarshim here. Let's see. No, they don't. Wait. No, they don't do his. What about? Let's just see if anyone says it was Eliezer, and then we get Chasan Damim. Okay, that's Moshe was saved. Erev judgment comes in corrective action. Chasan Damim. Okay, here we go. So this helps us a little bit. That says Chasan Damim. Ibn Ezra says that newly circumcised babies are referred to as Chasan. In contrast, Shadal explains that Chasan is Moshe. Okay, fine. Okay, so no one is summarizing R Avraham and Rambam's thing. Just want to look at one more thing, and then we'll go back to R Avraham and Rambam to figure it out. Who is near death? Yeah, okay, so they're not summarizing him here. All right, so let's figure it out on our own. Oh wait, hold on. Unless they say. Okay, no, this is about Tziporah going back to. Oh yeah, this might be the chazal that Avraham and Rambam was referencing here. That says, initially Tziporah and the children were accompanying Moshe back to Egypt, but Moshe changed his mind on the way and sent them back to Israel before the incident at the inn. Sadigon, Moshe's change of heart in the middle of 420. According to Sadigon, 420 should be interpreted as follows. Moshe took his wife and his sons and set them on a donkey to take them to Egypt, but he then reconsidered and sent them back to Midian, and he, Moshe alone, returned to the land of Egypt. That's why it switches to the singular, I guess. Yashav, Vayashav Moshe. This reading is particularly difficult as there's no textual indication or even subtle hint of either Moshe's reconsideration or Tziporah's return to Midian. Additionally, it is unclear what would have motivated Moshe to change his mind. Split screen, who was at the end, Rasadia explains that Moshe sent Tziporah and their sons to Midian by themselves and was not with them when the incident at the inn took place. See Mystery at the Malone. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to our thing and try to figure it out on our own here. So the question is like, what do we get out of this this whole story, right? I mean, he succeeded in basically, Avraham and Rambam has succeeded in removing Moshe from the picture. Moshe is no longer at fault. Tziporah does this rough circumcision, and it's prompted by something real, which is that she's chayav in doing milah, and since she was lax in the mitzvah, whether intentionally or unintentionally, Eliezer was in danger from the hashgacha. But like, what's the point of the story? Yeah, Yosef?
Well, Tziporah may be a son of Avraham. She can, like, is this Moshe just marrying a non-Israelite? Like, just think through, like,
right, because you're saying that
like, we also know she's Midian, which means she's descended from Avraham. So
right, because Midian is from Keturah, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, right.
Like,
so I mean,
yeah.
So what's your question? Because B'nai Keturah are also obligated in milah.
I'm just trying to, what's the stats over here? Like, just a mixture of halacha and non-halacha.
So I don't even think it's non-halacha, right? Because I think this is the interesting halacha here. I think we read this earlier in the year that and this is a crazy halacha here, right? And not crazy,
Muslims,
just like
Muslims do this still.
Right. Yeah. So here's the halacha in Hilchos Milah. Sorry, not Hilchos Milah. This is in Hilchos Malachim and Milchamos 10:8. Amru Chachamim Shebnei Keturah Shehem Zaro Shal Avraham Sheba'u Achar Yishmael v'Yitzchak Chayavin b'Milah. So the descendants of Keturah, who are the offspring of Avraham, who came after Yishmael and Yitzchak, are obligated in milah. V'hoyel v'nis arvu hayom b'nei Yishmael b'nei Keturah yischayvu hakol b'milah bashmini. And this is, again, it's unbelievable to me that now he says, since today the Bnei Yishmael are assimilated with the Bnei Keturah, Yischaibu HaKol B'Milah B'Shmini. So then all descendants of Yishmael are obligated in Milah on the 8th day, not because of Sinai, presumably, but because they got the mitzvah passed through the generations from what do you call, from Avraham, Ve'ein Neheragin Aleha, and they're not killed on it. So just to tie this back before I call it Chizkiyahu, so Moshe was chayav to do, I mean, I don't know how this was set up, but like Moshe has a chiyuv because he's a descendant of Avraham through Yitzchak, and then Tziporah presumably has a chiyuv because she's a descendant of Avraham through Keturah, you know. So everyone is actually halachically obligated. So it's not even hashkafically; it's just halachically they're chayav. Yeah, Chizkiyahu.
This also brings it to me a bigger question now. Like before, we were already asking why should Moshe be chayiv mita. Now it's even like why should Eliezer, who's not responsible in any way,
right? Why
should his life be in danger? It's even a bigger question.
So I'll tell you. So I think Avraham and Rambam is actually answering that question, and I think the way he's answering it is he's saying it's not that. So you read the psukim and it makes it sound like God is like zapping, is about to zap someone, you know. But the way Avraham and Rambam uses it is he says, first of all, the Targum says malach, and then he uses the lashon of kara milafanav mikre shel sakana leEliezer shekimeat haragoso. So God caused a chance occurrence to befall Eliezer by chance, which almost killed him. Which and he uses the word mikra another time. So it sounds like he's using it not like a for lack of a better term, not a negative hashgacha, like God is striking him down, but that because she was not doing the mitzvah, she's not. Then Eliezer, she and Eliezer are not under the hashgacha and not being protected, and then he was subject to a chance occurrence, and then that so it's not an actual chiyuv misa. It's like being subject to chance.
So that explains the malach being like a malach of Rachmanis. This is like, this is actually putting you in the situation is gonna protect you from a situation in the future that really could kill you.
That's interesting, right? Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah. So now the main question that we still have an answer, which is what is what is this doing here? You know, like, or what's the idea?
I think it's to teach us that Hashem, like, what is it like when like a shepherd goes and he breaks like the legs of a sheep if it keeps going off, like Hashem in a certain way, you can believe that like you might see a situation that happening and you might think, oh, I'm being punished, but it might actually be like a situation that's being there to help you from wandering off later in the future, where then you really would incur a real punishment.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I mean, it sounds like though that she got an actual whatever this hashpa elokis was, sounds like that was actually like some form of like ruach hakodesh or nevuah, right? That like clued her into the fact that there is a connection between these things.
Right. What's wrong with that? What is?
Meaning that it sounds like this was it's not. Let me think. What I mean by that. I guess my question is, what would have happened if she didn't get this communication?
Maybe,
so presumably she wouldn't have connected it to the failure to do Milah, right?
Right, and then we wouldn't have connected.
Right. So I just want to. I think I'm just tweaking what you're saying here, because you're putting it in terms of like you know, if something bad happens or looks like it's going to happen, then maybe that's like being set up for your benefit. She's doing something. It can be, right, but she's doing something one step. I think more in line with Torah, which is she's connecting it to a vera. You know, like this is what Chazal say, like when Yisurin come upon you, you know, when afflictions befall you, you should analyze your actions. So right. She got a little boost from Nevuah, but it's not like, oh, God saved me. You know, it's that God put me in the situation and I realized I made a mistake and I did tshuva, you know, or not tshuva, I corrected the situation by doing the mitzvah that I was obligated in, and then that saved me, you know? You see the difference?
I mean, I guess I feel like maybe I just didn't say that, but I guess I was already figuring that like usually when Hashem used to do that, it's because you already started on the trajectory towards you ending up in a place where he needs to prevent you from. So there's obviously something already that you need to correct.
Right.
I don't imagine him doing this with something where you're already just doing, you know, excellent in the first place. I guess it was kind of an obvious thing to me.
Yeah, right. No, I wasn't talking so much about that. I was talking about what the implication is for what do you call it, for the takeaway message, like that you should the takeaway is not that when something bad happens, maybe it was for my good. The takeaway is when something bad happens, I should investigate myself and ask, am I not in line with Ratzon Hashem in any way, and then make the change. And then that will.
So let me restate it, but kind of saying what I guess I feel like I still was trying to say that, but let me say it like this: okay. Because I know that whatever is happening is for my good, must therefore mean that whatever I was doing before that was contradicting.
Okay, correct. Yeah. And
so since what this is actually for a good thing, okay, I got to look to what it is that it's fixing.
Okay, that I think that's a better way to frame it. Yeah, I agree with that then. I just want to see really quickly, I know this is not Rambam Bekius, but I just want to see what the Rambam's toelis is that he gets from this. Or actually, just read the whole thing.
Also, like you have to say it like that, because if you don't, then you can end up saying, well, maybe this isn't happening for the good, and maybe I don't need to fix anything. You know, like you have to start off with that premise.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. Yeah. And that's I think what is, you know, without going into the whole thing about what's problematic about, like people are very quick to say Gamza Latova, when they should really say like, does the fact that this bad thing happens to me mean that I need to do tshuva? Gamzu L'Tshuva would be a better slogan, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't thought about why this is here.
Sure.
It might be. I might. Someone might have said this and I missed it, but I think that this approach of when something bad is happening to you, to turn that into a reflection about what you might be doing wrong is the mentality, like the right mentality for how to approach these makos that are happening.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like a lot of really bad things are about to happen to the mitzvah, and
right.
Instead of being like, oh, we can take this or we can't take this, like the thing to do is not think about is to think about what to use it as a mechanism for tshuva.
Yeah. So that does connect it to the message to Paro. You're saying, right? That the bad stuff that's going to happen to the midstream is really to get them to do teshuva. Yeah.
And even if it wasn't, even if they weren't going to do teshuva, it's that that we can see that this is what they should have been doing.
Right. Yeah. Check this out, by the way. I think this is I think I'm reading this right. So the Targum Yerushalmi, which is the Targum that has the what do you call the midrashim woven in. It says he translates it like this: "V'hava be'orcha b'ves of Susa." So it was on the path in the lodge or whatever. The era yase malacha min kanam Hashem ubal lemiktal yase. So an angel of God came and wanted to kill him. V'nasvas Tziporah tinara. So Tziporah took a flint. V'gazras yes arlasa de bara. And she cut the foreskin of her son. The karvas l'ragloi de machabla, and she threw it at the feet of the destroyer. So I think that is the feet of the angel, like someone said earlier. V'amaras arum chasna ba'al lemigzor v'chamui lo shavak yaseh v'chapir kan adam gzirasa hada al chovoi dechasne hadain. What is this footnote here? Yeah, what does that mean? The Amaras, and she said, Arum chasna ba'al lemigzor v'chamui lo shavak yaseh. I don't know what that means. I think because of my husband, then ba'al lemigzor. No, I don't know how it is. The RP.
What does?
Say again.
What's that word mean? Lemigzor?
Lemigzor, I think it's to cut.
Oh, okay.
Because I think she's saying I think Chasna is referring to her husband, is to Moshe. Because my husband wanted to cut the Chamui lo shavak. No, I don't know. I'd have to look up these words, which I'm not going to do right now. But
hot Chamui.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is too complicated for me right now. Yeah. I was just trying to see if there's anyone else in who says. Here's another targum that says, "V'hava v'orcha beves avsusa v'ara be malachat Hashem uva lemitle min biglal gershom v'rei delo hava gazir al Esak Yisro chamui delo." Oh, her father. Yeah, something's going on here. All right, I don't know. I don't have time to look these words up right now. All right, so tzarech iyun, but I think we at least got an idea from the Avraham and Rambam. It's funny because when I said we would do this Avraham and Rambam, I thought he was quoting his father. I don't know who this Das Adonenu is. I have to see if that is if that's the Rambam. I don't think it is the Rambam because I think he talks about he calls him Abamari, and then when I was skimming it, I thought that it was Ma shekibatim min Abazal. Or Avizal. I didn't realize it was Abi Ava. So this didn't end up being Rambam Bekius. It ended up being Avraham and Rambam and Maimon Bekius. So we got the two other generations, but still a fun thing. Okay. All right. So Rambam Bekius will be on break until after Pesach. Bli neder. Okay. So if I don't talk to you before then, have a Chag Sameach, and feel free to send questions because I always enjoy Pesach questions. All righty. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.